On the 10th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me lies and infidelity. It's podmas, bitches. I don't know how that has somehow become a thing. I'm scrolling TikTok at 3 a.m. because my nervous system's too fucked to go to sleep and I feel too anxious to put my phone down. Is that why I'm having an existential crisis? There are always going to be a million other things you could have decided to do. I'm broken. Fancy seeing you here again for the 10th time this month. Hopefully I'll see you for the entire 24, although I can imagine it's a bit overwhelming to hear my voice every day, but I hope you get around to it. This episode, we're talking about my experience with polyamory. Polyamory. The irony is not lost on me, nor was it lost on my friend Lottie. Lottie, if you're listening to this, love you so much, that my name is Polly. Polyamory. Okay, we loved that. We lapped that shut up. Maybe this was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I had to try polyamory because it was in my name. But I mean also like polystyrene and polyester, polyurethane, I don't know. I was going to say F it, but remember, we're trying to be brand friendly. Brands, if you want to sponsor me, I'm brand friendly now. I no longer swear. We lapped that shut up. Let's do the check-in jar and then we will get into polyamory and my experiences. We are talking about we're going to be talking about Caspar the Ghost again. I know. We thought we were rid of him. We are not. If you haven't listened to the Caspar the Ghost episode, you should definitely go and listen to it. It's called My Boyfriend Ghosted Me After 3 Years. I can't remember what number it is. Okay, check in for today. Now, this one was added to the jar by yours truly. And as I was writing it, I nearly didn't write it because I was like, if I get this one, I won't know what to say. But something in me was like, no, put it, because the fact that you don't want to answer it is probably indication that you should. Why are you worth knowing? Why are you worth knowing? This is the type of question that makes me want to cry. I think I come across very confident, but actually sometimes I'm like, what do I have to offer? Like, what is interesting? Do you know what I don't have to offer? This friend. One time, I can't even remember who said this now, but somebody says they envy my commitment to living. They envy my commitment to living. And I'd never really had that reflected back at me before. But I feel like somehow, if I look at the through line of my life and look at like common themes throughout my life, something, no matter what I've been doing, no matter what iteration of life I have been playing out, something that always is kind of steadily there, sometimes more obvious than others, but it's always this enormous desire to live, full stop, I guess. But to explain more, it's just like a desire to live this full life. I remember once I was talking to a friend about how I didn't just want to work a job that I didn't love. I didn't want to work a job that I didn't in some way enjoy. And she was like, don't you think you're being a little bit unrealistic? And I remember saying to her, yeah, but if there's anything I'm going to be unrealistic about, it's going to be my life. There's a reason that my Instagram bio is do it for when you're 90, because I feel like I want to live my life as big as possible and to just do as much as possible. And just do anything and have as much fun and love as much as possible and live as much as possible and experience and see just as much as I possibly can, so that when I get to the end of my life, I can be like, okay, did it. Like, this is all good. Like, can tap out now. Wouldn't have done it another way. I hope that I'm worth knowing because of that, and because of, even though I don't want that to make it sound like I'm like super positive and like uplifted all the time and like super Tony Robbins motivational speaker all the time, because I'm definitely not. But I hope that that rubs off on people, and I hope that I'm worth knowing. But because of that, I truly believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. And I hope that in my desire to rise my tide and to be constantly lifting myself up, I hope that other people can come with me in that. And I hope that I rub off on people in that way. Fingers crossed. If you're my friend, let me know if I do that. And if I don't, maybe don't tell me, because I'll be very upset. Actually, do tell me, because then I can be better. Check-in done. Nervous about this one. This is just going to be an interesting story time, okay? I wasn't sure the kind of angle I wanted to come at with this episode. I still have this belief that people don't see me as worthy or valuable unless I give them something. And that like my personal stories are not of value unless you can like take something enormous and very clear and tangible from them. But the episode I did about Caspar the Ghost and just talking to you about my relationships, you guys loved. And that's like my second most popular podcast of all time. If you feel like listening to a story about polyamory and my experiences with polyamory, my relationship experiences, I mean, you kind of know the ending. listen to that episode, but let's just talk about it. So polyamory, if you don't know what it is in the name, it is multiple loves. Poly, multiple, amory, love. The idea of not just being monogamous with one person. The idea of it and the concept of it came into my life probably around, when did I meet Caspar the Ghost? I met him in 2019. So probably around 2018 was when the idea started to come to me. I think a big part of me kind of being aware of it is Amanda Bucci. So Amanda Bucci used to do fitness kind of coaching. She was very in like the fitfluencer scene back in like YouTube when everyone was like into the bodybuilding phase of YouTube. And then she kind of went into business coaching, and I followed her for years, since my bodybuilding days. Her and her partner, John, they talk a lot about polyamory. They have a polyamorous relationship, and I think they were the first example of like a real couple that I'd seen polyamory work for. And I always found it very interesting. From there, I kind of started reading books about it because what they were saying, I liked, I resonated with it. And I thought, okay, you know, sometimes you've got to try these things. Like a lot of the ideas that they were talking about and a lot of the ideas that surround polyamory and the reasons for polyamory made a lot of sense to me. Not being able to fulfill 100% of your partner's needs, you know, no one person can fulfill 100% of their partner's needs. Why not have multiple people that can fulfill different needs? 2 people fulfilling your needs, that's twice as many needs met. That's like twice as better life. I loved the idea of like the personal development side of it. You like being able to figure out your jealousy, figure out where your jealousy is coming from in relationships, where you're feeling triggered, communicate about that. I think I just liked, around that time more than ever, I loved the idea of being a little bit different. And I talked about this in the first episode. I am a recovering, I'm not like other girls girl. You know, I used to love and thrive on the idea of not being like other girls. So I think I just liked the idea of being polyamorous, or playing with the idea of polyamory, because it was just like a little bit different. And I am just a big believer in like, you've just got to try things to see if you like them. So I read a few books, and the more I read, the more I was like, yes, I like relate to this. But I was single at the time. Then I met Caspar the Ghost. He was the first person that I'd ever heard talk about polyamory and polyamorous relationships in real life. I'd seen people talk about it on the internet. I'd read books about it. And then he was the kind of first person that talked about it in real life. And he said that he very much kind of aligned with a polyamorous relationship structure over monogamy. And I thought that was interesting. Caspar and I got together and we talked about it a lot, like the ideas of it and just kind of the theory behind it, but nothing ever really blossomed from it. Like we lived together, we lived very kind of on top of each other's lives, and we were just doing other things. Like we lived in New Zealand and we went snowboarding, and like we had snowboarding passes for the season, and so a lot of our time was taken up with snowboarding. And then we were in a pandemic, and obviously like we weren't dating other people in the pandemic, like we were hardly even dating each other. Then at the beginning of 2021, as you know, we started to do long distance. So he went back to Australia, to where he was from, to where he grew up, where his family are, his old friends are. That is important to the story. And I stayed in New Zealand. Because of that, we were long distance, and we thought, okay, maybe this is a great time to practice this. We've been talking about it for a while. Why don't we try something new? Why don't we see what it's like if we open our relationship up and use this as like a kind of experiment? We've both wanted to try polyamory and like dip our toes in the polyamory pool. Why not try it now? And I was thinking, great, like this is going to be so fun. Like we are long distance now, and I think I wanted something to like bring us together. And I was like, this is going to be so fun. Like we can date other people, we can experience this new thing with other people together. It's going to be an avenue for us to kind of discuss how we're feeling. It's going to bring us closer together. We're going to be able to like experience insecurities that come up. I was just very excited about the whole like self-development, like growth part of it. And like maybe meet some new people. I thought it could be really fun. If you know anything about me, it's that anything that involves talking about like the inner workings of your mind and talking about your feelings, figuring out your feelings, conflict resolution. If there's anything that I love, it's that, okay? So if it includes that, I'm there. So I was like, yes, Caspar the Ghost, let's embark on this polyamory journey. Little did I know, the reason he wanted to try polyamory so badly was because he was fucking his ex. Oh dear Lord. Rewind though, because at this point when we're starting this, I don't know this, okay? We start this and I'm thinking this is great. And he does bring this up to me. So he's like, I've been in touch with XYZ, his ex-girlfriend. He was like, I would like to start seeing her again. Like she has expressed romantic interest in me again. She had always kind of been quite into him the whole time we'd been together. He was always very adamant that nothing would ever happen and he wasn't interested in her in that way. Alas, this came up and he was like, okay, I'm interested in seeing her again. They were living in the same town. So they were already seeing each other, like visually seeing each other and like physically seeing each other. But he was like, I'm interested in FUCKing her, okay? It was kind of a shock because I envisioned us dating other people, like new people. So he brought this up and I was like, okay, I mean, I guess this is what this is about. Like if that's something that's interesting to you, let's talk through it and let's find a way for this to feel comfortable. And I was very excited about it still. I was excited about like learning more about her. I was excited about the dynamic they had together. It felt like he was being very honest, like he was telling me about her. So I was feeling good about it. And what I loved about the whole idea of polyamory and the way that I saw myself in a relationship, if it was going to be polyamorous, was the open communication and just the ability to talk through all of the things that you're feeling and figure out a way to kind of design your relationship the way that you want it to be so that it really fits both of you and it fulfills both of your needs in a big way. And so my huge thing was, let's just talk about everything. Like, let's talk about everything. I want to know what's going on. And then we can like figure out a way to make it work for both of us. If there are things that I don't feel comfortable with, I'll share them. If there are things that he doesn't feel comfortable with, he can share them. And we can find this blend that really fulfills both of us. For a while, it worked. Like I went on a date, the one and only time I've ever been on a Tinder date. I met this guy on Tinder and I was like, do you know what? F it. Let's go. Again, brand friendly. I'm doing so well not swearing. This topic probably isn't very brand friendly. So I went on this date and it was great. I went on a couple of dates with this guy. Nothing really amazing happened. Like I don't think we had very much in common, but it was fun. We kissed and it was fun because I got to tell Caspar about it and we discussed it and it was fun. It was just like this new venture we were going on together. I was being very honest. Caspar the ghost was apparently being very honest. And then it just started to go a little bit south. And the turning point for me was he was saying, I'm going out with her tonight. He was going out with the girl tonight and he was like, I am going to sleep with her. And I was like, all G, have the best time. My one boundary was use protection. Like that was really, really, really important to me that he used protection, mainly because they had been together before. They were exes before. I mean, not that I have to justify my boundaries or things that make me feel comfortable or give reason to why things make me feel comfortable or don't. But my reasoning was that she knew that we were in a relationship and that he was also dating her whilst in a serious committed relationship to me, lol. And she was fine with that. And he asked her if she was fine with that. And she said, yes, I'm fine with that. I just want you in any capacity that I can have you. Like, I don't care if it's serious or not. I just want you. And something in me, this is the female intuition, okay? I knew if somehow she got pregnant with his baby, that would be a really great way for her to keep him in her life, okay? And he didn't want children, but I mean, once the woman has a baby, it's like that's kind of it, isn't it? Like you're having it, you're going to be a father, whether you choose to be in their life or not. You have a child. I didn't mind them sleeping together, but I really didn't want that to happen. Like I was open to the polyamory thing, but I was not open to being like in a weird like mum baby boyfriend dynamic, okay? So I was like, that's my one thing. Like FUCK her, don't mind, do your thing, report back to me, can't wait to hear about it, have a good night. Please use protection. Fine, all went fine. Spoke to him a few days later and I was like, how was your night? Like, did you guys have a good time? Did you use protection? He was like, oh my God, no, I forgot. And so from there on, there was just no level of trust. And to be honest, like this wasn't the first time that he had that I felt like there was a lack of trust. But that is, when I look back on it, the point where I was like, right, that was the one thing that I had asked him to not do or to do, and he kind of went against that and he said he forgot, and I was just like, come on mate, We had a very, very open discussion about how important this was for me and the reasoning behind why it was so important for me. And that was kind of disregarded. And so from that point, it just felt very uncomfortable. And so I felt like I couldn't trust him. And I mean, we all know how this turned out. And if you haven't listened to the full episode about Caspar the Ghost, the reason we call him Caspar the Ghost is because a few weeks later, he ghosted me, stopped talking to me, and then a few months later, lo and behold, take a guess what happened. Take a guess. Female intuition. I absolutely knew it. Who's pregnant? They are. So women's intuition, I knew. Okay. And that was my experience with polyamory. It's not that life-changing. It's not, I guess I didn't really experience it that long, and I'm kind of disappointed in it because in theory, I loved the idea and I still am very open to the idea of it as a relationship structure. I see it working. Like John and Amanda, I know them. I've met them both. Amanda Bucci and John Romanello, I don't know how to say his last name because I think it's Italian. They are such an amazing example of like healthy polyamorous relationships. And I feel like I just have a bad taste in my mouth from that experience. But after that relationship, I remember confiding in my friend saying like, the reason I'm over this relationship and I'm kind of getting over him because I realized about the relationship that all of the good things that I liked about the relationship were me. The things that I brought to the relationship, I really liked, and they were the kind of things that made the relationship good, like the communication, the deep conversations, all of that stuff was brought by me. And I feel like the same about polyamory. Like the way that I wanted to do it, like very honest, very open communication, designing our relationship the way that feels good for both of us. I loved the idea of that. Little did I know the only reason he was really into it is because he wanted to fuck his ex. I feel like maybe that wasn't the best foundation to have a polyamorous relationship. I would definitely be open to it again. And I learned a lot. The main thing I took away is that you make the rules of your relationship. And I think before that, I think we all model our own romantic relationships on the relationships that we've seen in our lives. Predominantly, I think our parents' relationship. My parents were divorced and I don't think I've ever said that out loud before. No, I surely have. My parents are divorced and they never really had an enormous love for each other. And so I think maybe I saw that as kind of the idea of what a relationship, a monogamous, classic, very traditional relationship was, and didn't want that for myself and don't want that for myself. Maybe polyamory was is kind of my way of moving away from that and like finding something else. What I learned from playing in the pool of polyamory is that polyamory is not the only way to create your own rules in a relationship. Like you can have a monogamous relationship and still bend the rules and decide for it to be different and the way you behave to be different. Like you get to decide what your boyfriend means to you and the expectations you have of your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your partner, your husband, your wife. You get to design the rules, and it doesn't matter what society traditionally tells you is a relationship, the relationship your friends have or your family has or your parents have. Like you really get to decide the rules. And that was something I really took away, which I'm really glad for. I feel like it will make me better in my next relationship. I'm definitely open to it again, but I think I've learned that it's not a priority for me. Like, I don't think, somebody said, I think this was John actually, he said that some people are polyamorous by choice and some people are polyamorous by orientation. Some people are polyamorous in the same way that some people are gay, like it's just who they are. And then some people, I guess this is the difference between like being gay, is that obviously being gay is not a choice, but some people choose to be polyamorous as a lifestyle. And I feel like that would definitely be me. I don't feel like it's necessarily like a part of my identity. I would be open to it again with the right person under the right circumstances. I've also learned that I'm not really a dater. Like I see, to be polyamorous, you have to want to date multiple people. And like I said, I've only ever been on one Tinder date. I think I am just a one person at a time kind of gal. I really like having one person, and I just don't know if I have the capacity to like date lots of people. When Alex Cooper talks about her roster that she used to have of guys, I just think, how did she used to keep up with them? How do you keep up with that many guys? Maybe I will. Maybe I'll enter like a dating era. I mean, if I ever want a boyfriend, I will probably have to go on some dates. So maybe this will change. Yeah, it's definitely not a priority. I think my priority for my next relationship is just love, security, loving each other, trusting each other, and yeah, like similar values versus like needing to be polyamorous. But you got to try these things. You got to try things out for yourself. And I think if you don't try them, you never know. If you never shoot, you'll never grow. And that was my experience with polyamory. I hope you liked that episode. If you got to the end of the episode, let me know. Let me know if you've ever tried polyamory. I'd be super interested to know. See you in tomorrow's episode. Remember, if you want to add your favorite journal prompt to the jar, I would love to write your journal prompt in this jar. Love you loads. Merry Podmas. See you tomorrow. Mwah. Love ya.